We've heard this so many times in our personal growth journey and self-help books and maybe influencers that we follow. Adopt a growth mindset, adopt a growth mindset, lack over abundance, and all these other terms and beliefs we hear time and time again. But what does it actually mean to adopt a growth mindset? What are the impacts of adopting a growth mindset, and how can that actually change the life that we're living right now? In this video and in this episode, I'm going to talk about how you can develop a growth mindset, what it truly means to change your default mode of living, and how you can really begin to see changes day in and day out on how you deal with situations, how you process emotions, and how you can gradually begin to guide your default mode, your mental framework, into one that more aligns with the life that you want to live, the life that you want to manifest, and the life that you, to be quite honest, deserve. But let's start with what is a growth mindset in general. It's my belief and my opinion that having a growth mindset is looking at your life, your situations, your experiences as opportunities to grow. Period. Everything that happens to us has a purpose. Everything that happens for us serves a purpose. It's on us to decide what that purpose is. And far often, we have these default modes of living and mindsets of living that keep us stuck in the same cycles, that don't allow us to work through our emotions in different ways, that don't allow us to really push the needle forward or actually become more aligned with the life that we want to live. Right now, you may deal with emotions in ways that don't really align with the person you want to become or the person that you're becoming. What is the default mode and the mental framework that we have each and every day that actually guides our life, guides our decision making, guides how we deal with situations, guides how we deal with the emotions that we have? What is that mental framework? Far often, we find ourselves in the same cycles, in the same patterns, dealing with the same emotions because we haven't adopted a mental framework, a mindset that allows us to grow, a mindset that allows us to shift the dynamic on how we deal with life. We deal with life in many ways on how we were taught to deal with life, or what we were showcased through our parents, through our upbringing, through our experiences. We're not taught to, in many ways, and this is different for everyone, to deal with situations and emotions in positive ways. And far often, we are catering to a mental framework and a default mode of living that is simply contrary to the life and the person that we want to be. How are you dealing with emotions right now in your life that make you feel the emotions that you genuinely don't want to feel? When you're upset, when you're angry, when you're sad, when you're depressed, when you feel anxious, how do you go about navigating those emotions in a way that allows you to get through them in a positive way, but also puts yourself in a position to be better positioned to deal with them in the future? A growth mindset allows you to do that, because a growth mindset is essentially, things are not happening to me, things are happening for me. I'm not going through things, I'm growing through things. You have to understand that you can take a positive out of many negatives in many ways. And it sounds very cliche because there's a lot of, fucked up things that happen in our lives. There's a lot of negative things and bad situations, and you name it. You can look at yourself and say, how else was I supposed to deal with that situation? When I had this going on, when I had that going on, how else did you expect me to push through that without dealing with it in the way that I did? But the truth is, we all have a decision to make in terms of how we deal with the emotions that we have, with the situations that we are involved in, with the experiences that we have. We all have that decision. But it's on us to develop a default mode, a growth mindset that allows us to get through those situations and experiences in an easier way. Adopting a growth mindset doesn't mean that you become this perfect person that does not feel negative emotions, that does not go through the same cycles of life that everyone else does, the ebbs and flows of life that everyone else does. It's simply a mental framework that allows you to get through those tough times easier, that allows you to rebound quicker, that allows you to position yourself emotionally in a better state of mind that continues to keep you in line with the life that you want to live and the person that you're becoming. A growth mindset isn't about being perfect. It isn't about chasing perfection either. Far often, we look at this self-development journey or this personal growth journey as you chasing perfection when it's actually simply you becoming the best version of yourself. You putting yourself in a position to deal with life in positive ways, in ways that allows you to continue to be on the path that you want to be in manifesting the life that you want and becoming the individual that you want. There's this quote that I really enjoy reading, and it's simple, but it's yet so profound, and it's everything serves to further. In life, everything serves to further a purpose, and it's on us to decide what that purpose is. Everything can serve to further your growth. Everything can serve to further your ambitions, your aspirations. Everything can serve to further your lifestyle, your manifestations, your dreams. Or on the contrary, everything can serve to further continuing to make you feel stress, anxiety, your downward decline. You name it, everything can serve to further that aspect. But what we truly want to focus on in having a growth mindset is the complete opposite. Everything serves to further my growth, my development, my dreams, my aspirations, my maturity, my evolution. Adopting a growth mindset is about adopting a mental framework and a mindset that allows us to cope, deal, mature, grow through life, through its circumstances, through its situations, through our emotions. Because life is truly about navigating our emotional well being. There's so many things that dictate how we feel, that dictate how we react. And having a growth mindset is understanding what that is and how we can navigate those situations easier, better, in a more positive way. It's about growing through those experiences. It's about finding ways to become the best version of ourselves, to become better equipped to deal with emotions when they do arise, whether those emotions are negative, are toxic, are emotions of anger, resentment, guilt, fear. Having your growth mindset allows us to deal with that as it becomes present in our lives. Because the truth is, we will not evade tough situations. We will not evade emotions that we don't want to feel. That's just not how life works. There's a lot of duality and polarity to life. There's yin, there's yang. The sun rises and the sun sets. You may feel happy one day and the next day you may wake up feeling sad. But on the days where you wake up feeling sad, or on the days where you're having a bad day, where you're not going to feel the emotions that you want to feel, how do you tap into a state of mind that allows you to deal with that in an easier way? And that's by adopting a growth mindset. That's by changing your default mode of reacting, of living, of being. What is your default mode right now? When a negative situation arises in your life, what is the default way that you deal with it? When something goes wrong or when you're feeling negative emotions, what is the default way that you deal with it? And if it's not in line with the person you want to be or the person you're becoming, then you have to shift that default mode into the person that you want to be or the person that you're becoming. If the person that you want to be understands that you may have bad moments, but that does not necessarily mean you have a bad life, then embrace that aspect. Embrace the aspect that you're growing through things. Embrace the aspect that life has its ups and downs, but that does not mean that the opportunities are not there for me. I may have a bad day, but I don't have a bad life. I may have ups and downs, but there's still so many opportunities out there for me to take advantage of. That's how you embrace a growth mindset. That's how you embrace a different default mode, a different operating system, a different mental framework that allows you to look at life completely different, that allows you to look at life in a way that all you really see and want and attract are opportunities, are areas to grow, are the things that you truly want and desire. But if you continue to have a default mode that is contrary to the person that you want to be, that is contrary to the person that actually has the things that you want to manifest, then unfortunately, those things will continue to evade you because you're not in line. You don't have a frequency that attracts that in your life. Adopting a growth mindset helps in that process of changing your default mode, especially if it's not the mode that you actually want to be in. The default mode that gets angry all the time for little things, that can't deal with their emotions in a positive way, that deals with emotions by shutting down and turning off. It allows you to deal with those emotions. And more often than not, it's incumbent upon us to have the awareness and the foresight to deal with that head on. Adopting a growth mindset doesn't shy away from dealing with negative emotions. It embraces those situations because we know it's an opportunity to grow and it's an opportunity to get better. Embrace a growth mindset so that you can change areas in your life where you feel like it's not aligned to the life and the person that you want to become. Because so long as you continue to evade and stick to the default mode that you have that doesn't embrace growth, that doesn't embrace opportunities, that doesn't embrace positivity and really adopting the being the person that you want to be in all of its ingredients, which is growing through life, which is finding positives and negatives. And like I said earlier, this isn't about chasing perfection. This isn't about not feeling angry or not feeling sad or not having off days. This is just a mindset that allows you to get through those moments in a better way, that allows you to rebound easier, that doesn't keep you stuck in those cycles that are not catering to the life and the person that you want to become. And that's what having a growth mindset is really about. Changing the way you look at life and embracing the person that you actually want to become and all of its ingredients. Looking at life as opportunities to grow, not going through things, but growing through things. Looking at opportunities, dealing with emotions in positive ways, changing your default mode and your mental framework that is aligned with that growth, prosperity, maturity, emotional intelligence. Because once your default mode and your mental framework is of a growth mindset, you feel more equipped to go through life and everything that it has to offer, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Continue to catch yourself when you feel like you're resorting back to the old mental framework, the old default mode. Shift your default mode if you haven't already to that of a growth mindset. Look at life in a completely new way. Deal with your emotions in a completely new light. Deal with the negative experiences in a completely new way. And just know that you have the opportunity to grow through anything, through any obstacle, through any setback, through anything that is a barricade to the life that you want to live. A growth mindset could be adopted by anyone. It's simply just shifting the view and the lens in which you look at life and know that everything is just an opportunity to grow, and everything serves to further your growth, your maturity, your well-being, and the life that you want to live. As always, thank you for tapping in. Stay safe.